going on, everybody? It's PapaStones coming back with another video. So today I'm going to be going over all the legendaries in Twilight of the Republic, ranking them from worst to best. This is purely on a gameplay standpoint, not on a financial standpoint. But looking so far, everything in this set seems to be relatively cheap, so hopefully that changes, to be honest. But I don't know if people are just seeing how much of it's being sold and so they want to move it while it's cheap. But I would definitely be holding off on some of the higher end stuff until like a competitive event rolls around and see if these have any meta viability and increase in price. But some of the worst ones I just don't think will do anything. So we're going to get started. The worst card, I think, is Planetary Invasion. It's a 12 cost, exploit 3, ready up to 3 units. Each of those gets +1 and overwhelm for the phase. This is just like a win more card 100% of the way. Like, you're getting rid of 3 units already to play this for 6, and then you're readying 3 more units. So you already had 6 units on the board just to get a swing, an extra set of swings, I guess. It just seems, like I said, if you're behind and you draw this, you'll be resourcing it, right? You're not going to do anything with it. And if you have it and you're already that far ahead, this isn't going to help you win the game. You should already win the game. So I think this card's terrible. 1 star. But moving on, at 15, we have Chancellor Palpatine. It's a 4 cost double yellow, 2/6. Each token unit enters play ready. On attack, if a unit left play this phase, create a clone trooper token. I don't think the card's that bad. I just don't think it really has a home. And the stat lines are too bad to make it worth it, I think. Like, the only real popular I mean, it could change, right? But as of right now, the only popular double yellow decks we had were Boba and Han, right? And at 4, there's, like, Cunning that you would rather play, or a Forlom, or a Kira. Like, this just has better options at the 4 drop. And this basically means you're playing a token deck, right? Because you definitely want the benefit of your tokens coming in ready. So maybe there will be something that pops up. I'm not sure what it'll be. I'm trying to think of the yellow hero leaders. I know Kinlan, but I can't think of the other one right now. What is the other yellow heroism leader? Yeah, regardless, but I feel like it'd have to be heroism because you want the clone troopers, right? But as a whole, I just don't think it does enough. Who knows? Maybe I'll be wrong, though. Moving on, though, we got Satine Cries. The 4 cost blue-white 0/6. Each unit, including enemies, gains action discard from an opponent's deck equal to half this unit's remaining HP rounded up. I can't lie, I like this card. Like, I've tested it out. It seems decent sometimes, but a lot of the times it's a 0/6, right? So you're spending 4 resources to do absolutely nothing. And if your opponent's also playing control, they could technically use the same effect, so they don't have to waste their 4-drop turn playing this, and they could still mill you the other way. If that's what it comes down to, right? But against other decks, right? Like, because this would be good against, like, other control decks. But against aggro decks, you're spending 4 resources to do literally nothing, and they just keep punching you in the face, right? Like, who cares if they mill 10 of your cards if they're going to be dead before they get to the bottom of their deck, you know? So, it just doesn't do enough. If it was just each unit not including enemies, it might be better. But the fact that it includes enemies means that, like I said, in the matchup where it would be most prevalent, they could just use the effect the same as you. So, I don't think it's fantastic. Moving on, though. Fyric, I think? Pyric? I don't know. Something Assault. It's double green. 3 costs for this phase. Each friendly unit gains when defeated, deal 2 damage to an enemy unit. Maybe it sees some play in, like, Palp or something to, like, try and stabilize, like, old Palp. But other than that, it's just, like, you'd have to have a decent board that you'd be really willing to get rid of. So, like, a bunch of tokens, I guess, right? This is, like, the ideal world. like you trade your tokens in to trim off bigger threats, but I just realistically don't think it's that great. There's better options in the removal category. Why are you freaking out? Leave the cat alone. Sorry. There's better options in the removal category, so we'll just pass that one. This one we got unlimited power. This one I'm a little on the fence about. I think it could be okay. I think if it's built around, it might be decent. But the fact that it's double red, I think, is what makes it unplayable. Maybe not unplayable, but less playable, right? But it's 6 cost, deal 4 damage to a unit, 3 damage to a second, 2 damage to a third, 1 to a fourth. So, like I said, if it was just red or red-black, I think this card would actually be pretty good. But the fact that it's double red really hinders where it's going to go. Because, like, it's a controlling card, right? And most double red cards are not control cards. They're like, you know, rallying cry or aggression and cards like that. So why double red decided to get a control tool confuses me. The only thing I think this could go into would be like double red, either Vader or Mace Windu or something like that. Or if you were building a deck where if the downside happens to where there's not 4 units and you can hit your own stuff, it has grit, but not a lot of red cards have grit, so it just kind of, the aspects are wrong. Like I said, if it was red-black, I think this card would be super playable. Or just red. But at double red, it just makes it really awkward. Moving on, though, we got Gore. I think this is like number 11 or 10. It's pretty straightforward. 12 cost 7/7 with exploit 3 sentinel ambush overwhelm. I think this has the same problem as planetary invasion. It's like at best, right? You're sacrificing 3 tokens, but you're still paying 6, and it's a 7/7. I mean, the sentinel, the ambush, and the overwhelm are all cool, right? But at the same time, you're getting rid of 3 pieces of board presence to play a 7/7 for 6, whereas like the following turn on 7, you could just play them all, which is almost the exact same thing, except it has 1 less health and doesn't have sentinel, right? Like, it just seems very lackluster. I don't see a world where this competes for a slot against something like Maul or Vader or anything else, but who knows. Moving on, though, I got Kiadi Mundi. This one's higher than I thought it was going to be. I still don't think it's fantastic by any means, but the stat line's pretty good, right? It's a 5 cost, 5/7. It's mono blue. The coordinate, when an opponent plays their second card each phase, you may draw 2. That is kind of just like an added benefit. I think the stat line alone makes it decent, but are you going to have coordinate online when you're playing decks that like this? It's debatable. I feel like if you get that effect off, it'll just kind of be a bonus. But the fact that it's a Force, a Jedi, a Republic, it makes it, has really good tags and pretty decent stats. I think that makes it playable. But other than that, it's basically just like a 5/7, right? And it's stats, so there's that. Can't, like, cards can be good just based on stats. We'll find out soon. Moving on, though, we got Invasion of Christophsis. I think this one's also kind of higher than I expected to put it, because it falls into the same concept as the other exploit cards. It's like you have to sacrifice your board to do things, right? So I don't think I, like in villainy decks, unless they're very token based, like a Nuke Gunray or something like that, or maybe a Dooku, who knows. But in most like regular blue decks, you'll just play Super Laser Blast. But in decks that are heroism that can kind of crank out tokens, maybe you play this. Or if it's like hard control and you want to get to the late game, you maybe play this. But I feel like this might pop up occasionally. Like, I don't think it's great by any means. I kind of think it's a worse Super Laser, because you're exploiting 4, so it's like, sure, to pay 7. I guess you could exploit 3 and pay 9, so it's 1 more than Laser Blast. You lose 3 of your units and then clear all theirs. But generally, that's what Laser Blast does for you, anyways, right? Because you're only playing that style of removal when you're behind. Maybe you get to turbo late games, you're like 13 resources, you know, and you only have to sack one dude, then that might be cool. Like maybe into like control mirrors, this sees some relevance, but who knows? I'm not too high on these either. I'm mostly like, I think like the top 6, 7, maybe. We'll find out. I'll tell you when I think they're all playable, right? But I think it's coming up. Cologne, I think this one's debatable. It's kind of also a win more card, but at the same time, I think it's okay in like side decks more or less, because you can play the clone and copy another like control deck, right? Like this is, I feel like, strictly a control card, because for 7 you might as well be playing the card itself. But against like other, like say you were playing a control mirror and you brought this in, right? Like they had a Snoke on board, you can copy their Snoke, or if they had an Avenger, you can copy their Avenger, like things like that. You can also copy your own cards too. So like if you're playing like red or something and you have a Crate Dragon and they don't answer it immediately, you can copy it and have another Crate Dragon, and then you could have like crazy damage. But this definitely is a win more. I don't know if it's going to be very played. I think it'll be a side deck extraordinaire, but main deck wise, I'm kind of on the fence. Same here. I think I have this one pretty high, and this is just strictly based on what I think might happen. I'm not saying that like a token deck will overtake the meta by any means, but there is a lot of things going around that people are obviously testing. I mean, it is a new set, so I think if tokens become relevant, then I think Resolute's actually really good. But I think if they don't, and like we kind of fall back to a like a regular, what we know from set 2 style meta, then this card's like really bad. But because, so basically, you know, it's a 10-10 for 8, which is bad stats, but it costs 1 less for every 5 damage on your base. So, like, normally this would go into, like, Anakin, but obviously, if it's, like, a token deck, generally, they're, like, most token decks so far, besides maybe Dooku, I think are very beatdown-centric. So if you can get this out and clear all their tokens, then it's pretty solid, right? But like I said, if tokens don't come out, then you're just playing, like, at best, you know, like a 6 cost or a 5 cost 8/8 that doesn't do anything immediately on the board. It might be too slow. I just have this one higher because I think if, like I said, if a token deck pops up as viable, this card will be really good. Moving on, though, I think these are my playables, like my definitely playable cards, I think. What do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6. I think that's what I said. But we got Isla Shakira. It's green white, 5-drop, 6/5. Coordinate on attack, prevent all combat damage to this. On its attack. So this card's a house with ECL. I know it sucks that we rate every 6-drop or lower based on their ECL value, but it's true. This card is crazy with Conversion Lab. Especially, like, I mean, obviously you could be playing like Poe or something, right? And like in a deck that has those colors, but like if something doesn't have those colors and is like mono green or green yellow, like this is like your best option, I think, as a 5-drop ECL target. Especially if you can set up the coordinate. If not, I mean, it's a 6/5, which is okay. But if you can set up the coordinate on this and basically you're playing a 2 cost less Han Solo, I think this card's actually pretty solid. There's like some Rex green list, you know, double green floating around online, and I think it's playing this, and it takes very well good advantage of it because of all the tokens they create, and then you kind of try and catch up and they just blow you out of the water with this. So I think this card's got some legs. Will those colors be relevant, like without red, where you could just play Poe or Wrecker, you know? But who knows? I think it's a good card. Moving on, though, we've got Ahsoka Tano. This one is literally just stats. It's a 3-cost yellow-white 3/4. While you control fewer units than an opponent, including this, it gains ambush. So basically, you can also tap 2 to return it to your hand, which probably never happens, right? But the fact that it's like situational ambush on a 3/4 that has Force Jedi Republic tags is pretty solid. I mean, it's not a 3/5, but the 3/4 stat line is almost as good. And like I said, the fact that it comes out and can have ambush, it makes it definitely a playable card, I think. Moving on, though, we got Darth Maul. I think this card kind of falls into the same category as I just mentioned. It is an insane energy conversion lab target. However, it kind of has the problem also that if you just play it straight up for 5 and they have an answer to it, you basically spent 5 to do nothing. But still, it's got really good stats for where it's at. Like Ayala was a 6/5, this is a 5/6. Still pretty good stats on a 5-drop, right? It's not Poe, which is, I think, the highest right now. Maybe not, I haven't checked in a little bit, but it's 6/6. So, there is that. But if this does manage to stick around, say you drop it raw, 5/6, and they can't immediately clear it, then next turn you get to take out 2 things. Excuse me. If not, like, you got good situations, honestly. You can, like, say they just ignore it completely. They have a bunch of tokens. You could just take out 2 tokens and then survive, right? And then they got to trade something else into it, possibly. Or there is the dream scenario where they have, like, 2 5/5s or something like that, or 2 6/5s. Let's say they have 2 Ayala Sekiras, right? And they've already attacked them. I mean, I know that can't happen, right? But just situationally speaking. Something that has, like, higher value, and that it would be like an even trade straight across. You could just hit both of them and then lose 1 unit for 2. Like, this card has crazy upside. I think it's definitely solid. Like I said, with ECL, I think it's insane, though. Moving on, though, we've got Cad Bane, the Hostage Taker. A 7-drop, 7/7. It is, when played, this unit captures up to 3 enemy non-leader units with a total of 8 or less remaining HP, and on attack, the defending player may rescue a card they own guarded by this unit if they do draw 2 cards. So it's a toss-up between this and the next card for 2nd place and 3rd. I think I just landed on this one strictly because not every deck will play it, because obviously not every deck is like turbo fast, or like turbo, not, I'm spitting it out wrong. Not every deck has the need to play this, right? Like, I mean, you could throw this in like a Boba Yellow, but generally speaking, right, like a Boba Yellow just wants to get to fire sprays like it's top end because they're only attacking base. You know what I mean? So I think that's why I put it at 3rd. But in yellow decks that go to 7 resources willingly, I think this card will be played. Just because, like, the capture mechanic in general is not fantastic, don't get me wrong. But in, like, your worst case scenario, you can capture some dudes, and if they immediately remove it, then you just exhaust, like, they return exhausted, right? So it's basically, you know, you could exhaust the units, and then, like, in your best case scenario, you can attack. Sure, they can re-rescue their dude, it'll come in tapped, get a draw 2 cards to search for other things. I think this card's super good. 8 or less is also really solid, because if it was 7 or less, I think it would be a lot worse, and it would kind of be on theme, you know, a 7/7/7 captures up to 7. But at 8 or less, if you're playing, like, into control specifically, like, you could steal big ships with this, you know, like, say they played an Avenger for their turn, and then you play a Cad Bane and take the Avenger, then they have to answer the Cad Bane, then you could play something else next turn, you know, like, I think this card has a lot of potential. I think it'll definitely see some relevance, who knows where, but I think it's a good card. Moving on, though, at number 2, we got Now There Are Two of Them. So this one is definitely overhyped, don't get me wrong. I still think this card's overhyped personally, but the fact that it can swing games just immediately makes it worth the spot. So it's a 3-cost event that says if you control exactly one unit, play a non-vehicle from your hand that shares a trait with this unit you control, and it costs 5 less. So there's going to be 90 out of 100 games where you don't see this, right? Like you play 3 copies, you don't draw it because like you really want it in like your opening hand, right? Because you can only have one unit. Sure, there are situations, I know people theorize like holding on to it and trading like in awkward manners to get this out to like later turns so you could cheat something else higher out. But like the ideal world, right? Play your 2-drop, you go to the next turn, you play this, you play a 5-drop. If your opponent doesn't have an answer for the 5-drop that just came down, it's like they're so far behind for the rest of the game. So when this card goes off, it's going to be like just an auto win unless they have an answer, right? Because like just picture, I mean, I don't know the trait specifically, right? But like say you played a unit and then next turn you play this and you drop like a Podameron. Then what, right? You got to try and answer a 6/6 that can deal 8 damage to your base. It can trade into anything. It can make you discard cards. Say Bobby Yellow, for instance. I tested this out in that. You play your Smuggler or your Evazon or whatever you're playing as a 2-drop, honestly. Like, it could be a Merc Gunship because you can target a vehicle, but the card you played can't be a vehicle, right? So you played a Merc Gunship, which was pretty common at the time. Play a gunship. You play this, you drop a Zuckuss. You have a 6/6. In the Dream World, turn 4, you play a Forlom. Now you have a 7/7 Zuckuss and a 5/5 Forlom with Ambush coming out. Like, this card is gonna swing games. This card will make you miserable when it happens. But if it's not the turn 1, it just kind of hits the resources. There will be times where you dead draw this and you hate it. But I think the upside potential is worth the negatives. Last but not least, it's nothing flashy. It's pretty straightforward. It's General Grievous. It's a 3-cost blue-black 4/4. Ignore the aspect penalty on each lightsaber upgrade you play on this unit. On attack, if it has 4 more lightsabers, defeat 4 units. All of that, totally irrelevant. This is a 3-cost blue-black 4/4. That is it. This card hits the power curve in crazy ways. Blue-black villainy gets options to play aggro in a sense. They have a 4 stat that can come out early. They have a card that can come out off of Darth Vader that is a 4/4. So now, like, your best Vader turns were like Vadering into a 3/5, right? Like your highest stat value wise. Now you can Vader into a 4/4. The stats on this thing are just crazy. Like, we've seen 4/3s, we've seen 3/5s, 3/4s, whatever. 4/4 is solid. I think this card is definitely played in all blue villainy for the most part. Just like I said, based on stats alone, it's nothing flashy. It's nothing special. I definitely think the last 2 cards are cooler, right? But like playability wise, I would guarantee that this card sees play. Like the other ones are debatable, but I guarantee that this will see play. So let me know what you guys think of the list. Let me know what you guys picked up, what you're looking to pick up, whatever it may be. And I just want to say thanks for watching. Make sure to drop a thumbs up for me and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Until next time. Peace.